Oh man. Honestly, I try and be too clever by half and try and do two things at the same time. And then it never works. Let me do. Brilliant. Right. I'm just getting Instagram up and going. So welcome everybody to Club Soda's Monday Motivation. Just to let you know what's coming up this week, we have a blog today about binge drinking. Do you worry about binge drinking? Do you think you're a binge drinker? Are you binge drinking and want to change that? It's a really good blog. Have a little look at that. Then on Wednesday, we answer the question, is beer healthy for you? Always, as you will know, the news print stories about wine being great for us or beer being great for us. So Dru answers that question. And then on Friday, you may sense a theme here. We have a podcast about how to make alcohol-free beer and talking to some of the producers in this space who make it. It's International Beer Day on Friday, and actually alcohol-free beer is the hero of the alcohol-free category. I mean, I never thought in a million years I'd be drinking beer, but I do. I now drink alcohol-free beer. So we talked to some of those producers and have a really interesting blog about how it's made, because actually the technology has moved on hugely, which is why there's some really great tasting alcohol-free beers when before they used to taste a bit shit. So what did I want to talk about today? A question came up in the community this week that I thought was really interesting, which is, what do I do with my time now? What can I do with my family now that I'm not drinking? Because normally, we'd put the kids to bed, we'd watch a film in front of the TV with wine. And I thought it was really interesting because my first instinct on reading that is, well, surely there's nothing that you do with your children that involves alcohol. I mean, I don't have children myself, but it's also been a long time since I've drunk. So the thought that you have to rethink your social being with your children as being now needing to think about things that don't involve alcohol is actually really interesting, because of course they're under 18, right? There shouldn't be anything that you do with them that involves drinking. But of course, we've got a society that has changed so dramatically over the years that there probably isn't an opportunity as an adult, regardless of whether you've got children with you or not, that doesn't involve alcohol, whether that's family meals in a pub or whether that's even children's parties where all the parents sit outside and drink. And so I wanted to have a little think about why it is that we find it so hard to fill our time with new activities. Surely it should be the easiest thing. And it does sound like it should be an easy thing, right? Surely you just go into Google and you type lots of things. But what you're asking yourself to do when you're rethinking your social time and your downtime and your leisure time is you're having to move away from a behavior that you have subconsciously developed over a period of time. And I really noticed this when I first gave up drinking, which is that I had not noticed how much I had rearranged my life around the fact that most mornings I would have a hangover and at 6 o'clock I would want a drink again. And without, any strong design, I would always make sure that I would, pop into a pub before I went to a theatre, or I would never book anything for the morning, or I would, do things that involved a nice heavy lunch on a Saturday so that I could get my carb loading from the night before sorted. I didn't do any of those by plan. This wasn't my planned diet, my planned lifestyle. These were things that I had subconsciously done to shift my life to accommodate my drinking. And so whether you've got kids or not, it's quite possible that you have subconsciously, you rule out whole sets of activities that might involve long drives, that might involve too much exertion. You may never do anything as a family on a Saturday morning because secretly deep down you've wanted to accommodate where drink fits in, and you won't be fit enough to do some of those things. And so it's quite a big thing to recognise that. And it's worth spending a little bit of time reflecting on how your life is organised and how you might have subtly adjusted your life to accommodate all of those things. And now you have to do something that's very different. You have to proactively decide to live your life differently. And that's a very different prospect to having accidentally created a life that's been built up by accident and circumstance. To actually sit and plan a new you can seem really quite daunting, because you're in the control, you're in charge of this. there's actually an overwhelm of possibilities. So where do you even start? And how do you begin to get out of those old patterns that were based around the drinking you, now that you're a non-drinking you, now that you have these massively long weekends available? I have to say, weekends are so long. They never used to be. I used to never get up till midday, and then I used to start drinking again at 6 on the Saturday, and then that would be half the Sunday gone, and then it'd be back to work again. It's amazing how much there is time to fill. Then if you think about your evenings, if you're no longer automatically sitting in front of the TV with a bottle of wine, that opens up a whole set of possibilities as well. So how do you begin to tackle this? Well, firstly, regardless of whether you've got children or caring responsibilities, working out that some of the time that you're regaining should be time for you. And that's really important, because if you're caring for other people in particular, then making sure that you've got time to rest and restore is really, really important. And you can use some of those evenings to do that. So it may be that you've always wanted to join your local yoga class, or you've wanted to go trampolining, or there's something that you've wanted to do. I remember one of the first things that I did when I gave up drinking was sign up for a fencing class, because I really wanted to do fencing. And in fact, I've been thinking about doing that again, because of course the Olympics are on and I always think about that. But, you know, I decided I would give it a go, and I booked myself some classes. It was something for me. It was something I wanted to try. Wasn't sure if I was going to be good at it. Wasn't sure if I was going to last at it forever, but it was on my list and I wanted to give it a go. So first of all, write down a list of things that you want to do. And it might be about doing more baking. It might be about spending more time with particular friends. It might be joining a local cinema club, or a local running club, or a local walking club. It might be about doing, you know, yoga or fencing, or doing a structured class. It might be doing some adult education. Brilliant way to make new friends, by the way. And it may be about activities that bring you some new friends into your life that aren't all focused around alcohol, which can, you know, give you other things that are separate from what your family does. So first of all, in this life that you are now designing, whereas before it was all by accident, you are now designing your life. You get to write down the things that you want to do. And you may not try them all at once. You know, there is only still a finite amount of time in the day, but you can begin to do some of these things. And quite frankly, I've tried most of them. Most of them I'm shit at. So I did quite a lot of sewing when I first gave up drinking. There was time in the evenings. I love listening to the radio more than watching TV. I would listen to a book. I would try some sewing. I was really crap at it. I got a cheap sewing machine. It lasted for a while. That's now gone. That's fine. But for some of you, that might be crochet, that might be jigsaw, that might be all sorts of other things. But I found some things that I wanted to do. The second is to begin to think about how you want to be as a family. Now, always in Club Soda, we talk about the fact that you might want to think about the life it is that you want to lead. Because ultimately, when you're changing your drinking, you have to decide, when you are wanting a drink, to think, does this take me closer to or further away that goal I have for myself, that image of the life that I want to lead? And the things that you want to do for yourself are part of that image of you and the life you want to lead, but also the life that you want as a family. And without a doubt, because of social media, you'll be constantly bombarded with friends who've done amazing things with their family over the weekend, and pictures of them baking and doing all sorts of things. And if that's the piece of the action that you want, you can have it, right? You can have some of those occasions. Of course, they're not all perfect and fluffy and lovely. Photographs and bits of social media don't show all of the tears and tantrums that probably came with some of that. But you can begin to bring some of that into your life. Now, you may have an image of what you want for your family, and you might want to write that down. I want to spend more time outdoors with the children. I want to spend more time doing museums with them. I'd like to do more educational family stuff at the weekend. I'd like to get to watch them do more the sport and activities that they're doing, and support them and encourage them in the activities they're doing as they're growing up. They may be all things that are important to you about family. But the other thing is you've got co-conspirators in all of this now. You've got, you know, kids, you've got parents, maybe you've got a partner possibly, and you could begin to involve them in designing this life. You know, if we had more time at the weekends, what would we want to do with it, guys? Is it about sitting the afternoon in the pub while you play around on all of the play equipment? Or do we want to do walks? Do we want to go and have mini adventures? Do we want to go, you know, to go ape and to climb on things? Or do we want to go to lots of cultural and arts events, or do we want to do crafts and things together? And begin to create that family list of things you'd like to do together, because together you'll be able to find those things. You know, everyone's got access to the internet. Everyone can spend some time looking at things you'd like to do as a family. And suddenly, actually, the most transformative bit of this is things don't have to be close anymore. You will now have the energy to get up quite early on a Saturday morning and drive a couple of hours to something that you really want to do. So begin to have a think about what that vision of family life is for you and the things that you would like to do in it. But then use one of your days to sit and have a discussion and a creative session as a family. Get tons of magazines, you know, everyone get to make their mood boards of things that they would like to do, and draw pictures and do all sorts of stuff, and begin to talk as a family about how you might be able to do that. You have the power. Design the life that you want to lead. Recognize and maybe even reflect on the fact that your drinking has subtly changed the way that you socialize, the way that you spend your time, and the way that your time is organized, and reclaim control. Get back control from what alcohol has done and decide what it is that you want to do with your life, and fill it full of mini adventures. Be it an hour in the evening going to see the bats, if there's a place near you that have got bats where you can just stand and look, or going to see the stars. Nearly all of the planetariums and big public spaces in London have in the country have stargazing nights and all those sorts of things. So it might be a mini evening adventure. It might be a weekend away. It might be just watching your kids do well. It might just be spending time all cuddled up as a family, watching a really good movie and having made the snacks beforehand. But they are all things that are now within your grasp. And there is no shortage of things to do in this country. It's just that you always discounted them before because it seemed to take too much energy at a time when you probably had a hangover. So now is the time. This summer is a good time to begin to try some of that out, and it won't all work perfectly from the beginning. You'll need to practice this as you did actually when you were drinking. You didn't know you were doing it at the time; it was a bit more subconscious. But you'll need to practice this new way of being, this new way of being in control, this new way of designing your life, this new way of engaging with your family and being the type of parent you want to be. But it is all possible. And it is all within your grasp, and I really want you to make the most of it, because to me, if I strip down everything about changing drinking, the thing that I have most of all is control back. Control at what I do with my time, control with what I do with my life, and I don't have to say no to things anymore because I don't think I'm going to be too hungover to do them. I can say yes and try things out and not enjoy them, but I would have tried them out. So I want that for all of you. I hope you realise that that's possible for you. Do speak to other people in Club Soda about the ideas that you have. Do have even a look. We've got loads of blogs about things that you can do and all that sorts of stuff, and take back control. So I hope that's been good for you this Monday. I'm always taken aback by how much my life was orientated around drinking and the effects of drinking, and I'm really glad now that that isn't the case anymore. And and anything I choose not to do, it's because I've chosen not to do it, and anything that I do is because I've chosen to do it, which is a great place to be. Brilliant. All right, thank you all. Bye.